Hello. This is my attempt to codify the Dwarven language of Dwarf Fortress. When I say attempt, well, I have codified it. This is the video counterpart, as you can see on the screen, to the forum post I made in the Dwarf Fortress Bay 12 Games forum. The link to that will be in the description of this video. That's a much longer, more detailed description of the grammar of the language that I made a video counterpart to because the post is rather large and confusing. Anyway, Dwarf Fortress is a video game. I assume you know that if you're watching this video. And because this is a codified language, it'll involve a lot of linguistics mumbo-jumbo that I will try to explain as best I can. I also have decided to do this in a kind of loose format. I don't have a script. I think it's more like a teacher standing in front of a whiteboard, which is why the slide 3 there is blank. And I'll just write on the whiteboard, so to speak. I'll type as I'm presenting the information. And I think that probably is a better way of teaching. Because the point of this video, of course, is to show the grammar, teach the grammar in a way that is more understandable than just a wall of text. Anyway, the Dwarven language is, next slide, based on the names. Oops, what are you doing? Based on the fortress names, because the language, air quotes, language, in the game consists of this. Just a list of nouns and verbs and adjectives. And that's all. And because of that, it's very limited. It doesn't have anything like, well, it doesn't have any grammar words. It doesn't have conjunctions and, or, but. It doesn't have prepositions, between, through, beyond, during. And it doesn't have articles, the, a, an. It doesn't have pronouns, he, she, it, they, we, our. And because of that, the grammar had to be quite simple. And so the first section will deal with the basic structure of the language as made from the fortress name. So here's an example fortress name. Kulitming Zutashus. Well, I can't read that. Also, another thing about the language is that it has no pronunciation rules because it's not meant to be pronounced. It's meant to be read. It's just text in game. So you can pronounce whatever you like. Zutashustos libashemar mabdug, whatever. Now, you can see how I've separated it into its component words here. You can see it's an agglutinative language. Agglutinative means that it's lots of smaller words stuck together to make bigger words. So, kulet, abbey, meng, lashed, zutash, ancient, ustos, angry, libash, axe, emar, animal, and so on. But you can also see that the isn't here. Meng means lashed, zutash means ancient, and there's no word between it. There's no the. Similarly, so this is an article. There's no preposition. This is a preposition of, there should be a preposition here in English, but there's not. There's a blank space. So this tells me that Dwarven does not have articles or prepositions. And this presented a challenge to me, which I met later. I'll show that to you. I also am clicking back and forth between this PowerPoint presentation and the forum post to make sure I don't forget anything. This means that Dwarven is an analytic language. And analytic is different from synthetic. Oh, here. Now I can do this. Analytic and synthetic. Okay, so Dwarven is an analytic. Dwarven is analytic. Because analytic means basically words don't change their forms. So in Dwarven, deb is the word for eat. But deb can also mean eats. Deb can also mean eaten. Can't type. And deb can mean ate. Now you can see in Dwarven, it's always deb, 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 deb. That means the word does not change its form. It's not declined. That's what it's called, declining. But with verbs, it's called conjugation, but whatever, same thing. But in English, you see the word changes depending on what it's supposed to mean. So eat, eats, eats means it's third person, singular, present. So it's happening right now, and only one person is doing it, as opposed to ate, which is the past tense, and also ate does not show person. So that could be we ate, more than one person, or I ate, one person. So in that case, English is a mix of analytic and synthetic, which is what most languages are like. Also, in Dwarven, there is no change of nouns either. There's no declination of anything at all. Remember, declination means changing of a word's form to change its meaning. So mabdug means ale, but mabdug also means ales, plural. You can see in English, ales has an S at the end, which marks it as plural. But in Dwarven, that's not the case. So Dwarven is an analytic language. Synthetic is when a word's form changes. And furthermore, Dwarven adjectives are not declined, and Dwarven nouns don't have gender. Gender would be like, well, English doesn't have this so much, so I need to use an example from Spanish. Casa, blanca. Casa is feminine, and blanca, well, basically blanc is the base form of white, casa is house, and so I need to add an A to blanca to make it match casa. So this is feminine, this is feminine. Similarly, we can have, what's a masculine word in Spanish? Hermano. Hermano blanco. And you see here, the O and the O have to match. So the adjective is declined to match the gender of the noun. However, in Dwarven, this is not the case. In Dwarven, the word for, what's an example? Onol. So onol means mountain. And ustos is angry. And so if I wanted to say, let's extend this a little bit. If I wanted to say angry mountain, I would say ustos onol. Like that. And you can see that ustos is not changed to match onol. Ustos just stays the same. It's not declined, it's analytic. But also, I could switch these and say onolustos. Now this means mountainous anger, because I've made angry the noun, which brings me to the noun forms in Dwarven that are agglutinative. Let's see. Dwarven is agglutinative. So this means that the words are just stuck together to make bigger words. So we have this example, onolustos, mountainous anger. Ustos, so the syntax here, syntax means word order. The syntax is important. The last word is the word being described. That's the noun. And notice that an adjective, angry, became a noun, anger, when I put it at the end of the word. And onol, a noun, became an adjective when I put it before the end of the word, describing the end of the word. So, mountainous anger or ustosono, angry mountain. Same thing. And again, no declinations, analytic. Let's see. And now we can go to the word order, also known as syntax. So, in Dwarven, the word order is extremely important because... I can't click on this. Uh-oh. Okay. Word order is extremely important because the words are not declined, and so you can't know what something means just by looking at it. You need to see where it is in the sentence to know what it means. So, I made the word order of Dwarven... what did I do here? Okay, I made the word order of Dwarven SVO, which means subject, verb, object, and then also that actually implies after that indirect object, and then after that, basically anything else. And so the subject is the thing doing the action. So let's say Bob. Bob is the subject, and then the verb gave. Object, a ball, indirect object, to the dog. And then anything else? Yesterday. So you can see that the word order is similar to English. I made it similar to English just because I know English. Subject, verb, and you can see the verb in English is conjugated to the past tense, gave, ball, and there's an A, an article, to the dog, indirect object, yesterday. So the subject is doing the action, the verb is the action being done, the object is what is being acted upon, and the indirect object is the object of the object, basically. And then, of course, anything else. And so I made the word order rather similar to English. Again, mostly because I know English and mostly because the people who play Dwarf Fortress mostly speak English anyway, and so it would be easier for them to understand. Okay, and affixation is very important, right? That just means agglutination, adding words, smooshing them together to make bigger words. And Dwarven also has no pronouns. That's important too. Dwarven has no pronouns. In fact, let's make a quick list of things that Dwarven does not have. Dwarven does not have pronouns. So I, you. Pronouns are words that take the place of a noun. So I, you, he, we, they, words like that. Also, they're accusative forms: me, him, her, or my, our, their. These words don't exist in Dwarven. So in Dwarven, everything is in the third person. And so, if you want to refer to yourself, you can't say I. You have to say a word that sort of refers to what you're doing. And typically, if you're speaking Dwarven, you're a speaker. And the word for speaker is kutam. So typically, you could say kutam to mean I, to refer to yourself. And so this can mean I, sort of. And thmeed means hearer, which then could be the second person. It could mean you. So, kutam. Oh wait, I can't give you an example since I haven't described verbs yet. Yes. Anyway, Dwarven has no pronouns. Let's see. And it has no gender, no declinations, and no articles. And I think that's it. Maybe I've forgotten something. But this makes the language very difficult to write grammar for. Because again, remember, all of this is based off of just this name. All I got from this was no grammar, just syntax. And also the fact that the language is agglutinative and that the word order is important. Oh yeah, syntax. I already said that. Maybe I should have written a script for this. Okay. Anyway, now I can go to adjectives. Oh yes, also I forgot one more thing with nouns. Nouns are always written with a capital letter. So amal means teacher, but amal means teach as a verb. You see, the capital letter makes it a noun. So nouns are always written with capital letters. This helps us understand what the words are supposed to mean, because again, they're not declined, so you can't know what it is just by looking at it. You need to have some sort of marker, and I made the marker a capital letter. Also, this could mean teaching, like in the example sentence, teaching is fun. So in this case, teaching is a noun, and this would be amal. So to know whether it's teacher or teaching, you need to see the context. This is a lot like Latin. Latin also relies on context heavily because it lacks a lot of these extra defining words. Okay, adjectives. Adjectives are fairly simple. I've already described ustos, onol, and also you can keep putting more words together to keep agglutinating. So ustos Ustos onol means angry mountain, and or ustos onol means large angry mountain. You can see the words here. Or means large, ustos means angry, ono means mountain. But I could also change the order here and make it ustos orono, which means angry large mountain. So, with adjectives, the most important adjective is written first, in this case angry, and then the thing being described is written at the end, in this case mountain. And then to write comparative adjectives, which are angrier or smaller, you just use an extra adjective more or gekur. So more means more, more means more, and gekur means less. So angrier mountain would be more ustosonol. Angrier mountain. See, more angry mountain. And then if I wanted to make this less angry mountain, it would be gekur ustosonol. And this is less angry mountain. And if you wanted to use a superlative form, angriest, most angry, then you use the adjectives tel or goudos. Tel means, make sure I'm doing this correctly, click to the post. Tel means most, and goudos means least. So, telostosono means angriest mountain, while goudos ustos onol means least angry mountain. So you just add more adjectives to make them superlative or what's the other one? Comparative. Okay, and again, this is all written in the forum post, and I recommend you read the forum post as well. This is meant to accompany the forum post, not replace it. Really should have written a script for this. Let's see, verbs. Okay, verbs are fun. Verbs. So again, let's use Deb as the example. In Dwarven, the verbs never change their meaning. So, never change their form, declination. There's no declination. So, Deb always has something to do with eating, but if you just see the word Deb, you don't know if it's present tense, past tense, participle, you don't know. A participle would be E10. It's a word that goes with have eaten. So, in order to address this issue, I added tense markers into Dwarven so that you affix a tense marker to a tense is a time to a verb in order to declare what it means. And there are 5 tense markers. They are geth, which is the Dwarven word for past, udiz, which is the Dwarven word for present, zalud, which is the Dwarven word for future. I think you can get the point here. Zot, which is the Dwarven word for, it doesn't really mean anything by itself. It's a Dwarven word for think, however, it means hypothetical, theoretical. And what's the last one? Zilir. Zilir means imperative, also known as command. So, let's give some examples here and make the font smaller so I have more space. That's not quite small enough. Okay, that's better. So, we'll say jurist, obviously, because jurist is the classic Dwarven name. Jurist, Deb, Udiz, Shokmug. So this is jurist eats cheese. Deb is the word for eat, and Udiz is the present tense marker. So this is jurist eat present cheese. And also notice the word order: subject, verb, tense, direct object. Jurist is eating. What is he eating? Cheese. Jurist eats cheese. Notice that this is the same as jurist is eating cheese. These are equivalent in Dwarven. Dwarven can't make a distinction between these two. This is Jurist eat present cheese. Jurist in the present is eating cheese. Jurist eats cheese. And we could then change the tense marker to make it in the past. So, Jurist deb geth shokmug. Whoops. Jurist ate cheese. Or, Jurist was eating cheese. And then we could change it again to make it the future. Jurist deb zalud shokmug. Why can I not do this? Jurist will eat cheese. Jurist eat future cheese. And we can also combine these forms as well. So, Jurist deb udiz zalud, and you use an apostrophe to combine them, shokmug. Jurist is eating and will eat shokmug, cheese. Not capitalized. And you can also notice that this noun is capitalized. So you see, we've combined two tense forms by sticking both tense markers onto the verb. And we can also use the imperative form as well, debzilir, which means Jurist, eat cheese. You eat cheese, Jurist. Jurist, eat cheese. Eat cheese. Like that. It's a command. And we can also combine other forms. For example, Jurist zalud zot shokmug. So this is Jurist eat future hypothetical cheese. Jurist might eat cheese. Jurist will possibly eat cheese. It's hypothetical. And so these can be combined to make different forms, although I think some forms are not really possible, like Jurist deb zilir zot shokmug. What is that? Jurist eat imperative hypothetical cheese. Jurist possibly eat cheese. I command you, maybe eat cheese. That doesn't really quite work. Okay. And so you can see that a word is marked as a verb by giving it by putting it in the correct place in the sentence after the subject, and also by giving it one of these endings. We could also make other words into verbs too. And in Dwarven, nouns, verbs, and adjectives are interchangeable. They can become anything. So remember, ustos is anger, but what if I said ustos udiz? Well, what does that mean? Jurist angry present cheese. Well, how about Jurist angers cheese? Oh, well, that doesn't make sense. Let's make the other person Moses. Yes, you'll find that throughout this lesson, Jurist will do very many very unfortunate things to Moses. So Jurist angers Moses. I've turned the adjective ustos into a verb by putting it in the correct place in the syntax and then adding a tense marker. Jurist angers Moses. Although sometimes it doesn't work, like Jurist onol udiz Moses. Jurist mountains? He mountains Moses? Whatever that means. Or maybe onol geth Moses. Jurist mountained Moses. Whatever that means. But you can see how the tense markers make the verbs fit a particular time. Okay, that's verbs. Let's see. I believe I didn't forget anything. And again, this is all on the forum post, which I recommend that you read. What next? Yes. Something very similar to verbs and adjectives. Adverbs. So, adverbs are pretty simple. An adverb is an adjective for a verb. So, adjectives describe nouns, adverbs describe verbs. For example, I quickly drive a red car. So, quickly is an adverb describing drive. Red is an adjective describing car. And often, however, in English too, adjectives are used as adverbs. For example, I drive fast. technically that is incorrect. Technically this should be I drive quickly. However, probably you have used an adjective where it's supposed to be an adverb many, many times. And I found in Dwarven that should probably always be the case. Because again, Dwarven words are never declined. So quick, the adjective, becomes quickly, the adverb, by adding this ly ending. But in Dwarven, there's no declination. So we can't do that. Instead, I just made adverbs and adjectives the same. So, for example, jurist bouquet deb udis shokmug. What does this mean? Jurist quickly eats cheese. Bouquet means, you should probably type that, bouquet means fast or quick. But you can see that bouquet is being used to describe a verb, so it must be an adverb. So jurist, fast, eat present cheese. He fast eats. He eats quickly. But we can also put bouquet here. However, that makes this the first word, the first letter of the noun. This is all one big noun. This is all one big noun, so its first letter needs to be capitalized, even if that particular letter isn't part of a noun. So, jurist bouquet de budis bouquet shomog. Jurist quickly eats fast cheese. You see, that bouquet can function both as an adverb and an adjective, depending on whether it's describing a verb or a noun. Pretty simple. However, there is also an important list of adjectives, or rather adverbs, that are not formed from adjectives. Adverbs that are just sort of special, only adverbs. And these are ones we use all the time. For example, always, never, maybe, what else? Every, that one's important. Finally. So these words don't have adjective, they're not derived from adjectives. Finally looks like it's derived from final, but actually finally and final don't really quite mean the same thing. And so in order to make adverbs in Dwarven, I added this ak ending. However, this ak ending doesn't decline a word into an adverb, it just marks an adverb. So if you see the ak ending, you know that's an adverb. And I had to do that for some words that just needed to be invented to make them into adverbs. For example, whoopsies, I clicked the wrong button. Where am I? Okay, so for example, there's no word in Dwarven for there. So I had to just make it up. And I used dog. I don't really know why I chose that word, I just did. But then I put an ending on it, ak, dogak. So that tells you it's an adverb. Jurist, deb, udis, shokmug, whoops, adverb, dogak, deb, udis, shokmug. Jurist eats cheese there. There, remember, is an adverb describing eats. Where is he eating? There. However, you also can just forego the ending. However, that might make this a little difficult to understand. This is particularly important when using a word like alodak, because alod means day. Alodak then means daily. And yes, I know that looks like declination, but it's not declination because it's a different word. I made day, the noun, into daily, the adverb. It's a different kind of word. So it's not declination. I tried to maintain the no declination rule. So alodak means daily. And so if you didn't use the ak ending with alodak, that would be kind of weird. Jurist, alodak, deb, udis, shokmug. Jurist eats cheese daily. However, if I didn't use ak, that would mean what? Jurist day eats cheese. And that doesn't really make any sense. Or jurist eats cheese day. Because this is a noun. It's a noun being used to describe a verb, so it is an adverb. It clearly is an adverb. It must be, given its position. It's before a verb. It can be nothing but an adverb. However, I think that might confuse people who wouldn't recognize it as an adverb. So the ak ending is not totally necessary. However, I highly recommend that it is used. And there is a list of these adverbs in the... Whoa, what did I just click on? There's a list of these adverbs. Wait a minute, what? I can... Is there a language option for Dwarven? What was that? No. Oh, okay. Anyway. There's a list of these adverbs on the forum post. And also many more examples. Okay, what's next? Wow, this video will be really long. Oh well, whatever. The passive voice. Yes, that's important. Passive voice. So, the passive voice is when you don't know who the subject is. So, jurist, deb, udiz, shokmug. Jurist eats cheese. But then how would I say this? Jurist, or rather, the cheese was eaten. You see, we don't know who ate the cheese here. That's the passive voice. Now, jurist probably did it, but we don't know exactly because it's not stated in the sentence. And so in order to convey the passive voice, I had to make another verb, and that verb is, ver, which means become. So we start the sentence with the subject, the cheese, shokmug, and then ver, become. Oh yes, and then also we need to use another verb, var, which means be. So ver, deb, geth. Sorry, we don't need var. I was thinking of a different example. Shokmug, verdeb, geth. So cheese, become, eat, past. Cheese becomes eaten in the past. So the cheese was eaten. So ver then is being used sort of like an adverb, but it's not really an adverb. It's being affixed to the verb to make a different verb, like verdeb. Verdeb just by itself means become eaten. Or I guess you could also add a different tense mark as well, and that is the cheese will be eaten. But you can see that the passive voice is marked by ver. However, in English, you could add an extra bit, eaten by jurist, and that would tell you who ate the cheese. So this sentence, jurist eats cheese, is functionally equivalent to the cheese is eaten by jurist. However, this is by, it's a preposition. Dwarven doesn't have prepositions, and that's a problem I'll deal with in a little bit once I have finished going through some more stuff. But that's the passive voice. It's fairly simple. I have more examples in the forum post, as always. Okay, next. Possession. Possession is also quite simple. So, in English, possession is marked by apostrophe S. So, for example, Bob's cheese. This is the cheese that belongs to Bob. We can mark it by the apostrophe S, or perhaps we could use a preposition, she's a Bob. However, in Dwarven there are no prepositions, and this is declining, this apostrophe S. And remember, in Dwarven, no declinations. So we can't do that. Instead, what we do is use another ending. Well, it's not an ending, an affixation. So this, let's use jurist as the example. And jurist has cheese. How do we say that? Jurist cheese. Well, the cheese is the thing that is being possessed. So it actually becomes the subject, shokmug. And then we use this ending, long. And long means belongs to or belonging to. Belonging to. So, Long jurist means jurists, I can't type, jurists cheese, or the cheese belonging to jurist. You see? And this then can be changed as well, so jurist can be replaced with Moses to make this Moses's cheese. The cheese belongs to Moses. And so what if we want to use the example, jurist ate Moses's cheese? Well, we would say, jurist, subject, Deb, Geth, jurist eat past, Shokmug, what did he eat? Cheese. But the cheese was special in that it belonged to Moses. So, jurist eat past, cheese belongs to Moses. Jurist ate Moses' cheese. Jurist ate the cheese which belongs to Moses, which belonged to Moses. And you could also change this to Debzalud or whatever. Debudiz. Change the form there. And that's it. That's possession. So possession is always this long thing. Okay. That's that. Next, question words. So question words are marked with an arg ending. And there's just a list of them. Let's see if I can copy it. Woohoo! And notice how whose uses that long thing I just talked about with possession, because whose means belonging to who. And they are all marked with an arg. However, in English, these words are typically at the beginning of a sentence. Whose cheese is this? What is the time? Who are you? But remember, in Dwarven, the syntax is very strict, so the subject must always be at the beginning of the sentence. As such, these question words can't go at the beginning, and they can't go in the middle of the sentence because the syntax is already structured, so they must be at the end of the sentence. So, for example, where is jurist? Well, what is the subject of that sentence? The subject is jurist. The verb is. So we put the subject first, jurist, and then var, udiz, jurist, be present, and then the question word, which is vasarg. Also, there are no question marks in Dwarven either. No question marks, because this arg ending means it's a question. So this means jurist, be present, where. Where is jurist? We can also convey, because Dwarven is agglutinative, we can convey more complex meanings in one word. So, I like this example. Whose job is it to mine? Now, this is a dummy subject. It doesn't refer to anything in English. Whose job is what to mine? Well, nothing. It's like when you say, it's raining. Well, what's raining? The rain is raining. It doesn't really mean anything. It just fills the grammatical place where a subject would go if there were one, but there's not one. However, remember, Dwarven has no pronouns, and it is a pronoun. And this is also a dummy subject. And Dwarven can't have dummy subjects because everything's third person. So there must be something specific that is being referred to. As such, we can use the word job as a subject. And the word for job, well, there isn't a word for job. However, I use the word iseth to mean job. Iseth means quest or task. So iseth. However, this is not just any job, it's a mining job. Avuz iseth. Avuz is the word for mine. So, mining task, and remember I'm using avuz as an adjective here to describe iseth. So, mine task, mining task. Mining task, long udosarg. That's it. That's the whole sentence in one word. Avuz iseth long udosarg. You can see that mine task belongs to who? The word udos means man, by the way. And so udosarg means man question, like man who, where, so on. And then long, of course, means belongs to. So belongs to what man? Belongs to who? So, whose job is it to mine? A vuzi seth longudosag. And there are many more examples of this on the forum post, and I recommend you look at those because this is a little bit of a confusing topic due to the question words being at the end of the sentence. Here's a good example, though. Where are we? Plural. Well, again, the subject is at the beginning of the sentence. However, it has to be kutam, remember, because there is no pronoun. So kutam just means speaker, but it can also mean speakers. Again, there's no declination, so you don't know whether that's singular or plural. But there is a way of doing that. You can use the word, shaman. So, shaman kutam, or shaman kutam, there's an accent mark there. Shaman kutam, whatever. Var udis, and then where, I don't remember all the question words. I made the language and I can't remember. Vasar. So, this is many speakers are where. However, this word shaman is not necessary, and in fact it appears in game only extremely rarely. So I think actually, why does it keep highlighting the wrong section? Probably shaman wouldn't actually be used. It would just be kutam varudid vasar. Speaker, be present where. Where is the speaker? Where are we? The we is implied by the context. If you're in a group and you've just arrived at a place and you say kutam varudis vasarg, well, that refers to everyone in the group, not just you. It implies everyone else in the group. However, you could also use the adjective shaman to mean many. Okay, that's question... Oh, yes. Now for the not-so-fun bit. Numbers. Numbers are just frustrating in every language. And so I try to make numbers very straightforward in Dwarven. The numbers are all based on the first 10 numbers. Azdob is 0, but it also means no, not, none. It's the negation word. However, it's not actually used in making numbers. It's important to mention, of course, it is a number, but it's not. It won't be mentioned any further, so we can just delete it. It's to be remembered, but it's not important for us right now. So these are the numbers. Nir nob mes vor fim gets sjun ot nag zez. I don't know if that's correct pronunciation. Again, there's no correct pronunciation. Like this S-J-U-N, what's that? I don't know. Sjun, or maybe shun, whatever you want. But these are the words for the numbers. And then all of the numbers beyond 10 are based on these numbers. So, for example, the word for 11 is zez nir. It's 10 plus 1. And the word for 12 is zez nob. 10 plus 2. And so on. And then if you want to say 20, you use the letter I for multiplication. So this is nobizez. 2 multiplied by, that's what E means, multiplied by 10. 2 multiplied by 10 is 20. Nobizez nir then would be 21. And then nobizez thim is 25. And so on. And this would be the same for bigger numbers as well. So, for example, 70 would be sjun e zez. 7 multiplied by 10. But then what's 100? Would 100 be zezizez? Well, I suppose technically it could be zezizez. However, that sounds really weird. And also, what if we had 1,000? That'd be zezizezizez. What about 10,000? Zezizezizez. No, we can't have that. That's far too much. So there are abbreviations for the larger multiplications of 10. And 100 is zez bog. Cannot type. 1,000 is zes. I have to check, make sure I do this correctly. I don't want to remember the wrong one. Zes ton. 10,000. Where's the button? 10,000 is zes gern, I believe. Let me check. Yes, it is. Zes gern. And where are we? 100,000 would be next. 100,000 is zes mal, and then 1,000,000 is zez chick. However, I don't think 1,000,000 is really all that useful, and I definitely won't make any numbers bigger than 1,000,000 because we don't need numbers bigger than 1,000,000. Probably that's enough. So let's get some examples here. I'll just copy them from the forum post. It's easier. Nobi zezbog femi zez sjun. So this is 2 multiplied by 100, 200. 5 multiplied by 10, 50. Sjun, 7. So it's 200 plus 50 plus 7. Just in the same order as the numbers are here. Again, I try to make this fairly straightforward. And we can use a somewhat larger example. Here again, zez ton, 1,000, juni zez bog, 700, mezi zez, 30, nag, 9. And then one really big example is, this is so nice to have this already typed, I could just copy it. This. 17,841. Zez gern, 10,000. Juni zez ton, 7,000. Oti zez bog, 800. Vori zez, 40. And then nia is 1. Zez gern, juni zez ton, oti zez bog, vori zez, nia. However, that's really quite cumbersome. So I don't recommend you actually say the numbers, and you don't need to say the numbers either, because again, this is all just text. You never need to speak Dwarven unless you want to be a super awesome nerdy guy like I am. Also, remember, numbers can be adjectives too. So, for example, Jurist sees one, I don't know, what did he see? He sees one mountain. This would be Jurist. Why is the font different? Jurist sog is the word for see. Jurist sog udis one mountain. Remember, one is being used as an adjective here, so it's nironol. Jurist see present one mountain. But we can also have ordinal numbers, which are numbers like first, second, third, and so on. Those are just the normal number plus the letter T. So, niet, nobt, mest. And so, if I say Jurist sees the first mountain, it would be Jurist sog udis niert onol. And so the difference between this sentence and this sentence is one letter. Niert. But the niert makes it an ordinal number. Jurist sees the first mountain. And again, there's no article, no the. It's just not necessary. Forget it. Jurist see present first mountain. Okay, and those are numbers. Next, particles. Okay, particles are super simple. So a particle is basically a word that persnickety linguists can't fit into any other category. And a particle can be almost anything. But basically, in Dwarven, there are only 2 particles that are worth knowing. And they are, of course, the typical particles that you learn at the beginning of every language course, yes and no. No, as you saw earlier, is asdob, and yes is eshob. The ob ending marks it as a particle. I guess you could put this ob ending on other words to make them particles, but I don't really know why that would be necessary. And if you're wondering why it's eshob and asdob, they come from eshon, which means good, and asdos, which means bad. So it's the good particle and the bad particle. Esholp, astolp. Yes and no. And that's it. That's particles. You don't need to know any more particles. Conjunctions. Conjunctions combine different parts of the sentence. So, Eurist eats cheese and sees the mountain. So that and there combines this part of the sentence, eats cheese, with this part of the sentence, sees the mountain. And there is a list of conjunctions, which I will copy from the forum post. Are you ready? Are you ready for a big list? Boom! So, because, before, after, during, and, but, or, you can look at the forum post to see the list with the other context as well. But these are written between the parts of the sentence, just like in English. So, we'll use the same example sentence. Eurist eats cheese and sees the mountain. Eurist, Deb, Udiz, Eurist eat present, Shokmug, and then the word for and, which is... Wait a minute. Oh, there it is. Thought I forgot to Lokut. Eurist eats present cheese and... Eurist, again, you have to repeat the subject because there are no pronouns. And in English, the subject here, eurist, also applies to the second verb. However, it can't work that way in Dwarven. It just doesn't make sense because the syntax, the word order is so strict. That subject spot has to be filled by something. So, eurist again. Eurist, Deb, Udiz, Shukmug. Eurist, eat present cheese, and, Lokut, Eurist, Sog, Udiz. Oh no. Eurist eats cheese, and Eurist sees the mountain. That's a conjunction. And other than that, you just need to know the conjunctions, because the word order is the same every time. So we can use a different example. What's a good example here? That's a good one. Eurist knows that, conjunction, the elves will attack. This combines tenses. So this is present tense, knows, elves will attack, future. This is Eurist, what's the word for know? Malur, right? Well, I better check. Eurist, Musar. Eurist, Musar, Udiz, Eurist, no present, that, where is it? Gadanut. Eurist, no present, that, fog, which is elf. Eurist, no present, that elf, and I believe Bashur is the word for attack. Rashgur. Why can I never type this stuff? I made the language and I can't remember the words. Eurist, Musar, Udiz, Gadanut, fog, Bashur, Zalud. So, I better type that all. Eurist, no, present, that, elf, attack, future. You see? But we can also change it to Eurist knows that the elves might attack. Well, then all we need to do is just add Zot. So, hypothetical, future. Eurist knows that the elves might attack. Maybe, in the future, possibly. Okay. And those are conjunctions. Other than that, you just have to know what the conjunctions are. Just refer to the list. And again, it's all on the forum post. I'm also working on a lexicon of the Dwarven language. Maybe I'll show that to you as well. It's a bit of a doozy, but when it's done, I'll be able to do quite a lot of things. And there it is. So you can see it there. It's just a list of verbs and a list of nouns, also adverbs, numbers, conjunctions. So this stuff I will all have available on the forum post later. I'm not done typing lexicon. It is something like 1,500 words, and I have to type them all individually, and I'm only at around 800, so it'll take a while. It's also just super boring. Whatever. Anyway, I need to remove that window capture. Yep. And remove this one too. Right? Yep. And then close that. All right. Do this during the lesson because I'm just that cool. Anyway, now we are coming to what I think is the most difficult part of Dwarven, and it is postpositions. Remember what I said earlier about Dwarven not having no... Did I just say that? Dwarven having no prepositions. Dwarven has no prepositions. A preposition is a word that describes position or direction or relation. So, words like at, during, by, near, through, beyond, above, those sorts of words. So, Dwarven doesn't have those. There are no prepositions. But then, how do I convey that information? Well, I convey it by postpositions, which are like prepositions, but they come after the word. And there is a list of postpositions as well, again, available on the forum post. And I tried to make the list fairly small, but there are actually many, many, many prepositions. So condensing all of those into a small list of postpositions is difficult. And postpositions are added to the nouns they modify. So let's use this example. The fortress is in a mountain. So, Geschud is the word for fortress. Geschud war dies. Fortress, be present in a mountain. But remember, there are no prepositions, so we have to say onol, mountain, and then the word for in, ok. So, we affix this postposition, post after, it comes after the noun, to a mountain. So this means fortress, be present, mountain, in, or within, inside, whatever. And that's it. However, I think that concept might be a little difficult for a lot of people to understand. Unless you speak Finnish. If you speak Finnish, that just makes perfect sense. What's another example? Oh yeah. Jurist is eating without socks. A common problem in Dwarf Fortress. So, jurist, Deb, Udiz, Deb Udiz, and then Seshozutan. However, this is a problem. So this is jurist, Ursit, that's not a person. Jurist, eat, present, sock, without. However, there's no direct object here. Jurist, debudiz, what? What is your eating? Well, we don't know what jurist is eating. We could say jurist debudiz shok mug, says Shosutan. Jurist eat present cheese, without socks. However, you can see in the original sentence the word cheese isn't there. So in the original sentence, there was no direct object. Because the direct object isn't important. It's not necessary. That's not the information we're trying to convey. So you actually don't need a direct object there. So the syntax in Dwarven is very strict unless it's a simple sentence like this, or that information just isn't important. That excluding the information doesn't change the meaning or doesn't confuse anything. So he's eating without socks. We don't need a direct object because what he's eating isn't important. That's not what we're trying to say. And those are postpositions. And there is a lovely list of postpositions. I suppose I can copy it into this presentation quickly here. Yeah, there's the list. But again, you can just look at the forum post for that. Next, we have appositions. Appositions are little descriptive phrases, basically. So, Bob and Joe, the sons of Sue, are nice. Bob and Joe is the subject. Are is the verb. Nice is, what's an adjective, but it's being used as a direct object here, describing what they are. However, The sons of Sue is what's called an apposition. It's a little phrase describing Bob and Joe, but it's used sort of like an adjective because it's describing them. However, it's not before them, but rather after them. And also, you see, this is not a complete sentence. There's no verb here. It's just a little bit of extra information added to the sentence. So, if we use an example from Dwarf Fortress, Eurist and Moses, men of the mountain, are angry. Well, we need an apposition there. So, Eurist, remember, lokut is the word for and. Eurist and Moses. In Dwarven, appositions are marked with apostrophes. Eurist lokut Moses, udos, onol, ok, var, udis, ustos. Eurist and Moses are, be present, are angry. And Eurist and Moses, mountain. Oops, wait, that's men inside the mountain. They're also inside the mountain, this is true. However, they are men of the mountain, onul are. Sorry, that's a different postposition. So, udos onul are, men of the mountain, or man of the mountain. Udos can mean man or men. However, in this case, it clearly refers to more than one. Or maybe not. Maybe it's Eurist, who's just some guy, and also Moses, the man of the mountain. However, I think this example makes pretty clear that it's referring to more than one person. But I suppose you could add the... Oops, that's not correct. Shamanudos. Then that would be Eurist and Moses, many men of the mountain, are angry. But again, that's not... The shaman is not necessary. And that's it. That's appositions. Appositions are useful because you can add extra information without starting another part of the sentence. And that's important in Dwarven because remember, in Dwarven there are no pronouns. So you must always restate the subject every time, and that can be kind of annoying. But in an apposition, you don't have to restate the subject because it's not a complete phrase. It's just a little bit of extra information that you just tack on to the end of a noun. And it doesn't break the syntax either because it's treated as a part of the noun it modifies. So it's a handy way of sort of skirting around the grammatical rules. Okay. And now we come to the last section of our lesson, which is conditional / hypothetical. This is for, well, hypothetical situations. For example, if Moses comes, Eurist will eat cheese. Now, this one is a little confusing because it doesn't begin with a subject. In English, it begins with a prepositional phrase. However, or no, it's not a prepositional phrase. No, sorry. Forget I said that. In English, it doesn't begin with the subject because the subject is here. Eurist will eat cheese. Eurist will eat cheese on the condition that Moses comes. And you can notice that the word order is not correct because there's a comma here. The comma shows in English that this is not the subject, this is the subject. That's why it's necessary. But however, in Dwarven, the subject must be at the beginning of the sentence. So, Eurist, Deb, Zalud, will eat future, Deb Zalud, Shokmug, and then we have to use a special hypothetical conjunction which is noshut. And notice all the conjunctions end with this ut ending. Noshut means if, and it always means if. It's always used for conditional hypothetical situations. So Eurist, Deb, Zalud, Shokmug, noshut. If noshut, Moses, and there's no word for come in Dwarven, so I have to use a word for arrive, and which is un. Un as a postposition, if you remember from the list, means near or beside, close to. But as a verb, it can mean too near, to come close to. So, Eurist, eat future, cheese, if Moses come future. However, this isn't hypothetical. This says Eurus will eat cheese if Moses will come. However, to make it conditional, we add, remember earlier with the tense markers, zot. Then we know that Moses' coming is hypothetical. Moses may or may not come. So noshut means conditional, and zot means conditional too. Zot, I suppose, isn't completely necessary. However, it would be rather confusing if that were not there. So I'll type this. Eurus eats future cheese if Moses come hypothetical future. And we can use this for more complex sentences as well. I think I have a pretty good example here somewhere. Here's a good one. So, if Eurus had known the elves would attack, he would not have left. So again, we see this comma here, so we know this is not the subject. It's a bit of a trick. The subject of the sentence is actually over here, he. But remember, there's no pronoun, so we have to think, what is he referring to? What does that mean? Well, it's referring to Eurus. So Eurus is the subject both times. So, if Eurus had known the elves would attack, he would not have left. This means we have to say he would not have left first before we say if he. Because remember, this is a conjunction, and conjunctions go between parts of sentences. You can't start a sentence with a conjunction. That doesn't make sense. And if you do it in English, you have to do this comma thing here. Anyway, get on with it, I hear you saying. So, there's a special word here. Eurist asdob. Eurist not galthor, which is leave or desert. Zot. See? Eurist not leave hypothetical. Oh, where is it? Oh, yes. Also, you can add gath as well. Eurist not leave hypothetical past. He would not have left. Noshut. Eurist would not have left if Eurist. What's the word for no? The word for no is musar. If Eurist had known hypothetical past, and then we need another conjunction because we're referring to the elves who are the next subject, so we need gadanut fog. What's attack? Rashgur. Rashgur geth. Because this would is a bit confusing in English, and you have to think of what it actually means. This means that the elves did attack, but Eurus did not know. And so before the elves attacked, so we're talking about the past before the past. Pluperfect is what that's called. However, Dwarven doesn't have that, so we need to just talk about the past instead. So, here we see Eurist not asdob, Eurist not leave, hypothetical, past, if Eurist no, hypothetical, past, that elf attack, past. And you see there is no zot with rashur. Oh wait, that's not correct. It's rashgur. Whoops. There's no zot with rashgur, which means that rashgur attack is not hypothetical. Rashgur did happen. There was an attack. It's not hypothetical. But the hypothetical part is Eurist knowing and leaving, because he did leave, and the hypothetical thing is him not leaving. So that's why zot is necessary up here, up here, but not down here. So you have to think about what the sentence really means. And there are many more examples as well. I'll use a simpler example that uses the Zelir imperative. Kill the elves if you see them. This is a command. So we can actually use a different word for the second person. This command is commanding me, kill the elves if I see them, and I'm reading it, so I'm the reader. So this is commanding to the reader, so we need a word for read. And we begin the sentence with the subject, and the subject am I'm the subject, and thus the reader would be Fikutsog, because Fikuts means book, Sog means see, so Fikutsog means book see, or read. And it's a capital letter, so it's a reader, a person who is reading. So, reader, and what should the reader do? Vag, which means kill. Vag, zalud, fag, fag, noshut, Fikutsog, Sog, Zalud, Zot, Fag. Now this could be a bit shorter, but I made it long in order to show you the way the grammar works. You could remove a couple words here to make it simpler and easier. So this is reader, kill, future, elf, if, reader, see, future, hypothetical, elf. Notice that there is no zot with vag, because it's a command, you kill the elves. Not maybe kill the elves, you definitely kill the elves. No question, kill the elves, not hypothetical. If you see them. However, the hypothetical part is whether you see them. Maybe you won't see any. And so that's where the zot belongs. With sog, maybe see, definitely kill. We all hate those filthy elves. And that is it. That's the lesson. That's Dwarven. And the forum post goes on after this with many more examples, including the strike the earth paragraph that is displayed at the beginning of every fortress. However, that's enough for me now. This lesson went far longer than I thought it would. However, I think this is a pretty good explanation of everything, and if you need to rewind to see more stuff, you can, because I typed the titles up here. And of course, you can check the forum post, which I highly recommend you do. Anyway, I hope this was helpful, and I hope you will use the Dwarven language in the future.